I'm here today talking to Sinead Aherne, one of Dublin's leading Gaelic ladies football team players, three-time All-Star. Sinead, it's lovely to talk to you. Thanks for coming in. Were you always interested in sport, Sinead? Where did it start?
Yeah, I suppose I always would have been. I suppose even the earliest pictures that you'd see from me at home would be me kicking around the ball. So I think growing up, sport definitely would have been a big part of the life.
And was there any family connection, or was there sport in the family?
Not particularly. I suppose that my dad would have played hurling in that when he was younger. And obviously, I mean, I probably would have got into it through, my brother would have played ahead of me, so that's probably where I got into the football. But I think it was always, we would always be probably a sporting household. We'd always be going out to a match somewhere, or something related would be going on.
Yeah, you went to Oliver Plunkett's in Malahide, and then from then to Malahide Community College. Were you involved in sports there?
Yeah, Oliver Plunkett's, I suppose, the Gaelic football for girls probably would have got started around the time that I was in school there, and a lot of the players that I would have played with there, I've played up with them through various club teams and even onto county teams, so there would have been a very strong connection there. And I suppose that's where it really got started in Oliver Plunkett's, and from there on into Malahide Community School. Again, there would have been a good number of girls that I would have played with from primary school, still playing in secondary school, and then others from obviously surrounding areas like Portmarnock and that, so Swords as well. So yeah, there definitely would have been a strong contingent that would have been playing Gaelic in both of those schools.
Yeah. Was it always football, Sinead, or did you dabble in any other sports?
No, I suppose at secondary school I would have played basketball and hockey as well, so I would have enjoyed a number of sports, and I probably could have got into either of those either, but I think whenever you kind of get a foot in one sport, as time goes on, you tend to drift towards one in particular. And I suppose I was 17 when I was asked to come and train with the Dublin senior football team, and from there, I suppose, leaving school and then whatever, the other sports, basketball and hockey just sort of drifted into the background. So
sure. And at what stage? I mean, you started off very early, and you say 17, called up into the Dublin panel. At what stage did you think to yourself, well, I could be good at this?
I don't know really. I mean, I suppose it was probably an unexpected call for me to get to join the Dublin senior panel, and at that time they'd been very successful, so it was a bit of a whirlwind introduction. In an All Ireland in my first year, in an All Ireland the year after that, so it was very much a just go with it and enjoy it. But it took me a couple of years definitely to get established and to kind of find my feet with it. But from there I've kind of kicked on. Yeah.
And you joined Sylvester's. You're still met with Sylvester's, a stalwart. What age were you when you joined Sylvester's?
I think I would have played these mini leagues and underage kind of games that they have very early on in clubs, and I suppose nowadays the underage structures are even more pronounced with lots of nurseries and that kind of thing. So I think I probably would have been maybe 9 or 10 going off playing street leagues at that stage, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Any success then? Did you play other 30s, 40s, up to 50s before the Dublin call-up came?
Oh, I would have, yeah, with the club. For a sec. So would have played underage football at Sylvester's right up from under 12 level up to senior now, and we did have a couple of years where we struggled with numbers, and since in the last couple of years our underage structures have become very strong again, so that's feeding into our senior team at the moment, so that's looking good for the future. Yeah.
And was there many girls playing at that time when you started?
There would have been, I suppose. Probably one team at every level, but I suppose there would have been, probably 20 girls on a panel, and I think you do struggle at times to keep the interest going from as you say, competing sports and that going on. But we always would have had a good group of players that would have been playing up at each age.
Yeah. So you mentioned then when you were 17 you got the call up. That must have been a great boost.
Oh, it was, yeah. I mean, it was exciting, I suppose, to come in and to see the kind of level of professionalism that you maybe weren't aware of before that, and a totally different setup to what I've been used to, I suppose. And As I said, they were very successful at the time, and that was, to come in and play in Croke Park in your first 2 years to get to All Ireland finals like that, probably spoiled a little bit at the beginning, and maybe didn't realise, that didn't come around every year. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. That's something that you hear that people do say. I remember Kieran Duff was saying, when he played in '83, he thought this would be the forerunner, the first of medals he'd win. But you came in, Dublin got to the final in 2003, 2004. They lost both, but narrowly enough. And then you had success in the leagues. Dublin was always there as one of the top teams. 2009 was the third All Ireland final you ended up playing in.
Yeah, 2009 had been a long time coming, I suppose, since 2004, and I think it was maybe 2007. We were beaten quite badly that year in the championship, and I think we realised that things needed to change, and subsequently there was a very professional setup that was bought into and that was put in place by the management, and I think there had been a group of players that had been playing for a few years together without success, and were really determined to stick it out until we got there, and there was a lot of time put into it, there was a lot of thought put into it, and getting back to an Ireland final in 2009 was something that obviously we've been working towards a lot, and just rewards at the time, but on the day we were underdogs, obviously going up against a very strong core team that have been the pinnacle for a few years now in ladies football, and we thoroughly fancied our chances. We felt that we were well prepared and eager for it, and unfortunately just on the day we just fell just short.
Yeah, and as you say, at that time the Cork would have been like the Kerry of men's football. I mean, the dominant team in it. But it must have been brilliant then, the following year, that you didn't have to wait long at all, and then to win Dublin's first ever All-Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it has proved over the last number of years in ladies football. I mean, Cork have been there virtually every year, apart from the year that we were in it, and I think, there was, before that, there wasn't a team that had got back to the Ireland final. Sorry.
That's grand.
Before that there hadn't been a team that had managed to get back to an Ireland final in 4 or 5 years. So for us to get back in 2010 was very important for us, and obviously crushing after 2009, but to get back in 2010, I think there was no way we were going to let it go.
Yeah, and not, I mean, it was a very comprehensive win in the end. You played Tyrone, who were playing in the first All-Ireland, but not alone did you win it, but I mean, you created a record by scoring 2-7 in the final, reminiscent of 1977 with Jimmy Keaveney and his 2-6 against Armagh. You superseded him. You won the player of the game, the man of the match award. So that must have been the real highlight of your career to date.
Yeah, no, it has been. I mean, having played for so many years without an All-Ireland, and having played with such a dedicated bunch of players and management that had been, pushing to get us an All-Ireland, it was great to finally get it, and to play the way we did on the day was just so to come back and to win it in the manner we did, I don't think, I think Tyrone having beaten Cork, maybe they were, I'd looked a bit too far ahead or whatever else, but I think on the day we just came with our minds absolutely focused on the task at hand, and just really put everything into practice that we've been working on. Yeah,
it was a dominant performance in a final, and from your personal point of view then, you got the first year All-Stars as a reward for your performances through that year in 2009.
Yeah.
You've won 3 All-Stars consecutive then, 9, 10 and 11. I mean, from a personal level, I know it's a team game, football, but how do you feel? Is it nice to be rewarded from an individual basis like that, particularly by your peers or by the people that watch the game?
Yeah, I think it's nice to reach a certain level of consistency where, you feel that, you can be relied on to produce a performance for your team, and at the end of the season, if that's reflected in, in getting an award like that, obviously that's fantastic. And it was great to be able to go at the end of the year and to celebrate that with your teammates, and to celebrate on behalf of them. So
yeah, yeah. Another thing that you've done, I mean, in 2006, it was the first international Ireland team, and you were on that team, and you also played in 2010. You went to Toronto and played a game against the 2011-2010 All-Stars. I mean, how different was that from your club and county career to actually be playing for your country?
Yeah, it was obviously, a special achievement and a unique achievement, I suppose. That may never be repeated in the ladies' game. So, and, I remember getting called for trials for that, and there's a lot of girls that went for it, and it was a big challenge. It was a huge challenge, and at the time, we were training different weekends around the country, and it was a great experience to be able to come together with a group of players and to represent your country. So
yeah, and these difficulties being teammates with people who you'd be coming up against in championship and leagues.
Yeah, there's especially because we didn't really know what to expect from the Australian team, so we probably would have been bringing in a bit more physicality to the training sessions than you would normally have with Gaelic football. So certainly you could see a few lines being crossed at times as to that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it was coming together to play as a team, and I think we did achieve that, and we showed that in the comprehensive nature of the win that we had.
Yeah, and was it different playing a game like that? As you mentioned physicality there. I mean, with the men's game when they played the international rules, for a couple of years there was all talk about it, that it was too much physicality. Did that come across in the ladies' game at all?
I don't think so. I mean, it wasn't designed obviously to be on the same level of physicality at all. So, it certainly it was different, but it wasn't.
Playing in Croke Park, Sinead, in the 2010 when there was nearly just under 25,000 people at it. I mean, from people who go to matches and the hill and the crowd that's there, I know. How did you find that the first time you came out?
Well, I suppose in 2003 I was quite young, and it probably passed me by a little bit. More nervous in 2004, and I remember in 2009, certainly there was definite nerves there that year, but I think 2010, just very focused and determined to kind of enjoy the game from a step, like just take a step back, and at one point make sure that you enjoyed it. But I think definitely was very focused on the job that we come there to do that day. So while you were taking it in, and it was a great experience, it was more afterwards to look back that you kind of felt it as more of an experience, because in the day I think you were just focused on the job you had to do.
Of course, yeah. And ladies football in general, I mean, since you started playing, I mean, from an outsider's perspective, I mean, the popularity has really grown over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned earlier on, there's a lot of underage work being done in clubs, and you have nursery structures getting kids in very early that are interested in the game, and that's feeding into growing the numbers in ladies sport, and there's been huge work done over the last number of years, and that's reflected in the popularity of the game.
Yeah. And apart from the popularity, and we mentioned Cork already, that had been a dominant, and still are, as this year shows. But there seems to have been a levelling out over the last few years, that there's now 5 or 6 counties that have the potential to win an All-Ireland, of course Dublin being one of them. Again, has that been reflected in the way the game has progressed, that there's more counties there capable of winning a senior All-Ireland, do you think?
Yeah, I think that that possibly does go back to the impact that Cork have had in the game. I think they've raised the bar, and they've pushed other counties to drive on and to want to meet that standard. So I think over the last number of years, as you said, there is counties like Monaghan, Mayo, ourselves that have been knocking on the door, and I think that will continue, because the appetite and the enthusiasm is there. And standards have been going up in the game, so I do think that hopefully over the next couple of years you'll have that same level of intensity and teams challenging to win in Ireland.
Yeah. The other thing that people don't realise, I mean, spectators, myself, people who go to matches, the amount of time and the commitment that, you know, players like yourself have to put in training. I mean, bad enough for just if you were just a club player, but how do you find that? I mean, there must be a huge pressure on in terms of, you know, the amount of training you do for your club and as part of an inter-county panel as well. What would your average week be in the middle of a season?
Well, I think I'd have to thank my club as well for being understanding of the amount of training that we do with Dublin, and you know they're always supportive of that, and you know you wouldn't be able to turn out for club training as much as you'd like, obviously, but you know I think you'd probably have maybe one club session a week. If you were playing, if you know you had club games coming up, and you'd probably have three county sessions on the pitch, and then you know maybe one or two in the gym, depending on what stage of the season you're at. So you know there probably is about 5 or 6 days a week there, so it is a lot to juggle, but you know I think if you're enjoying it, then you know, and if you're serious about what you're doing, then you know you just get on with it.
Yeah, and as you said there, I mean, from the professional setup, I mean, people forget sometimes that's an amateur game. But as you say, the amount of time that goes into it, the amount of commitment players have to put into it. But are the setups there now behind the county team?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know we've been lucky in that we've had very good coaches that have come in terms of you know bringing a new conditioning aspect to it. You know we've been working with NADA the last couple of years, and they've been great for ensuring that the professionalism you know is coming with it. And you know you do have your external team, your psychologists and that coming in, so you know to augment what the coaches are doing on the pitch, I think you do need that level of support coming from off the pitch, and you know we have been lucky that those structures have been put in place over the last few years. Yeah.
The pressure of playing for Dublin, being an inter-county player, I mean it must be immense, because you know everyone wants to win. If you're not competitive, you're not going to be successful in a way. From your personal perspective, the fact that you're the leading scorer, you know, you're like the Wayne Rooney of the Dublin team in the sense that you've won all awards, you're scorer in chief. Does that put additional pressure on you personally, or how do you handle it?
Yeah, I suppose you know I've been playing a good few years now for Dublin, so you know I think I'd be looked at as one of the more senior players in the team, and you know that does I suppose bring its own pressures, but you know I think you always put pressure on yourself anyway, so regardless of what's coming from outside, I think you always have to deal with a certain level of pressure coming up. So you know there is times when you know you might be standing over free, and you know I've been in that position myself where you know that is a big pressure or whatever, but you know I think everybody puts themselves under their own level of pressure, so you know I'd imagine that there's other girls in the team that feel equally as much pressure. So
of course, yeah, and you've nearly won. I mean, as you say, you're one of the senior members of the team now, but you're still very young. But you've won nearly anything that, as I mentioned, the 3 All-Stars, you've won the All-Ireland medal, you've played in 4 finals, National League winner, Golden Boot winner 2011, top scorer in the championship. I mean, when you think about it, what would be your future ambitions? It's not
I think I should be hanging up the boots.
No, not yet.
I know. I think you know when you experience defeat again, and you know you go back to that point, it renews your appetite and your enthusiasm for getting back to the top. And I think you know there's a lot of potential in Dublin football that you know we just haven't brought out yet. And you know I'd hope over the next few years that you know that we can get back to the top again.
And it should, I wouldn't, as an outsider looking in, I don't see that as being a big deal, because I mean a couple of the games you've lost by a point. There's been nothing. The kick of a ball in a game, quarter final this year. Do you know what I mean? So you would be hopeful that in the next year or two that there could be another All-Ireland medal.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know possibly one of the things with ladies football that wouldn't be as prevalent with the men's game is that year on year you can have a lot of you know turnover in a squad, because you know obviously the age profile is different with you know girls being in college and going travelling and this kind of thing. So you know it very much depends on everybody coming together at the start of a season, and you know deciding really where you want to go, and the level of commitment that people are prepared to give. And I think every year starting off, you never really know where you're going until you get down the line. And I think definitely, as I said, that there is the potential. There is the players in Dublin, there is the commitment there, and I just think there's a lot of things that need to go right for that all to come together. And that shows in that Dublin only have one All Ireland, despite the talent that's played for Dublin over the years. So I definitely think that while the potential is there, there's an awful lot of things that have to go right, and bounce of a ball here, bounce of a ball there. But I would be hopeful, that Dublin definitely will have more All Irelands in the near future.
Yeah. And from your own perspective, I mean, you love the game. You've loved the game since you were, as you said, very young when you started it. The future, I mean, you see yourself continuing. How long would you see yourself continuing on with Dublin and with Sylvester's?
I don't know. It's very hard to have a crystal ball in that respect. Obviously I'd like to do a bit of travelling, that kind of thing as well. So, as long as I'm enjoying it, and as long as I'm, still being asked to play for Dublin, then, that I'll always, look at that option every season. And if I'm still, please God, like not injured and that kind of thing, and club, as I said, we've been doing well with the club, so that's important as well. And we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, and on that with the club, I mean, you were just pipped in the Leinster final, the intermediate final, there last week. But again, you won the Leinster junior title last year, intermediate final this year. That's progress. How different? I mean, people talk about the club as being like a second home, a second family to them. I mean, in terms of playing the game, obviously everyone aspires to inter-county football, but people I've spoken to, they actually say that they don't prefer the club football, but that there's something different about playing with people you've grown up with, people that from your own area. And do you find that?
I do, yeah. I mean, I think something that's been really nice to see, from playing club football for the last couple of years, is to see the younger girls coming through in it. And there's probably excuse me, there's probably 4 or 5 of that have been involved over the last number of years, that are kind of seen as the more experienced heads in the team. But to get the girls up from the minor team, the under 16 team, to see a panel kind of knitting together and coming together has been really, really nice. I think there's probably more of a a social aspect to club. You wouldn't maybe take it as seriously, and you'd have more kind of off the pitch maybe kind of coming together as well. So I think that's been something that's been really positive about the last 2 years that we've had at club, having a club run, because, as I was saying, we wouldn't really get the county girls wouldn't really get to train as much as we'd like with the club, due to other commitments. So kind of when we get out into the championship and out into Leinster, it kind of gives us a run to come back to club and to kind of enjoy the more relaxed atmosphere, I suppose, and to just everybody's to get to see people coming out, friends and family and that, coming out to watch your home games, and that it is nice. And we've had great support all year from the club, so that's been a really positive thing to the last couple of years.
It's a great, I mean, any kind of a GA club in a community, it's not just a part of a community, but it's a very important part of a community as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And families and that would always be great for coming out to support, and friends and that kind of thing. So that's going back to the club and that after games has been something that we've all enjoyed very much this year.
Yeah. Your own career to date, hugely successful. I mean, you're a role model, Sinead, to as you say, to younger girls coming up through the game. They look at you. I mean, if you look at I was looking at even current inter-county players, if they're asked who their favourite player is, I don't know how many of them would say you. So even in terms of as that role model, do you see yourself as a role model, or how do you, this encouragement of to bring the next generation of players up? Or does that come into your equation at all when you're playing?
No, I don't. Well, you know, I don't know how much it does really. I mean, obviously, some of the younger girls in the club, you know, they've been great actually this year. There's always been a bunch of a bunch of younger girls that have come on the bus to the games and that this year. So, you know, you're aware to a certain extent that, you know, they are looking up to you as a player. And, you know, I think on the pitch and off the pitch it is important to foster that role. But, you know, I think when I get out onto the pitch, I'm just, you know, I'm doing my best to be, you know, the best player I can be, and to behave, you know, in a respectful, I suppose, manner on and off the pitch. And, you know, if that is seen by other players as something to, and younger players to kind of look up to, then, you know, that's only a positive thing, I suppose.
Yeah. Very difficult. I mean, all the highlights that you've had in your career to date, if it was asked you to pick out the most important one, would it be the 2-7 in the 2-10 All-Ireland final?
Yeah, I think it would be the All-Ireland, all right. It was just such a long time coming, and there'd been so much work put in, and, you know, so many tears along the way, and it was a fantastic achievement to win it, you know, in one thing, but to win it in the manner I did, I suppose, was just, you know, testament to the focus and the hard work that everybody had put in along the way. And it was just such a sweet victory after, you know, so many tough and narrow defeats, I suppose, over the years.
Of course, yeah. So that's we went to DIT, and that's one thing I forgot to mention too. I mean, when we're talking about training and playing, we mentioned Sylvester, we mentioned Dublin, but you also played and captained the DIT team to success.
Yeah, you know, our college teams as well are you know, a bit of fun, and a bit of there's yeah, and, you know, with college teams, I suppose it's nice to meet girls from other counties that, you know, maybe you've played against on the pitch at different stages, and to kind of see them in a different context. And, you know, the social side to college football obviously is pretty enjoyable as well. So you know, we were lucky enough to have success with college as well, and, you know, it was great. You know, great bit of banter to be had, I suppose, going on the college's weekend away. You know, when he got to the finals, it was a weekend away, and,
right, yeah,
you know, to head off to those, and to be playing against other, you know, colleges from around the country was you know, a pretty good thing to have on your wish list to do for football as well.
Yeah, and that's what the other thing I was talking about, combining time with training and all the rest. I mean, you were studying, you were very successful in your studies as well. I mean, I don't know how you juggled everything like that, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, I suppose it's a good balance to have in one way, because I think you could easily get caught up, you know, studying or working, you know, all the hours that there are in the day as well. So, you know, to have something to kind of focus the mind and get you out in the evenings was probably beneficial. Obviously, you know, there was times when you know, one thing had to take a backseat to the other, but I think, you know, it probably was a good thing to have focus and to have something to split your time at. Yeah.
So next year we'll do the crystal ball. I'll do the crystal ball. Sinead Aherne wins her 4th All-Star. Dublin wins their 2nd All-Ireland. Would you take that for 2013?
I'd take that, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this stage of the season, it's probably a time for reflection, and, you know, maybe taking some time out and seeing where things are headed. But as I said, I think there's still a lot of potential in Dublin football, and, you know, I hope that there is an All-Ireland in the not too distant future. Yeah.
Do you get a break at all?
This time of the year, yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, will there with the inter-county finish and the league hasn't started, you'll have a couple of months off, will you? Before
I think especially at this stage of my career, I suppose, having played so much football, the mental break is you know, as much important as the physical break. So, you know, I definitely, you know, take a step back until Christmas, and, you know, just get back to the kind of social side of life as well. And, you know, you definitely get a chance to catch up with friends and that kind of thing, and, you know, weekends away that you don't have that kind of freedom, holidays, that kind of thing, that you don't have that kind of freedom during the season. So, you know, from now until Christmas certainly is a time to kind of put the football in the back seat and just, you know,
Yeah.
let other interests kind of come to the fore a bit, and see where you go from there. But yeah, definitely it's important, I think, to take a mental and physical break, and maybe just it may not be football that you're doing, but you'll keep yourself doing taking over with something on the physical side of things, but just something different anyway.
Well, that's great, Sinead. Listen, thanks very much for talking, and wish you continued success next year in everything you decide to do.
No,
Thanks again.
Thanks very much, Paul.